today we're interviewing Efe Ado, and he is the advisory panel president. So,
hello.
Welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So how did you get into things like MUN? Like, what interest led you there?
So I was very interested in politics and global affairs since I was a small child, and the club that took my attention in middle school was MUN. And first I was doing junior MUN, that is designed for middle school students. It's like a preparation for high school MUN, which we're doing at The Hague right now. And that experience drew my attention to the actual club. And I think as a result of my interest and the amazing friends I made over time, I got interested in the club.
That's cool. So what drove you to get this far in climbing?
Well, I think the first factor that is the most effective is it's my 6th year doing MUN, and I've been to many conferences abroad, both in the Netherlands and in Turkey, in Jordan, and those were all really nice conferences, and I had a lot of experience. And over time, I just learned how to chair. I just learned how to organize a conference as well. So I think my hard working and interest in the things discussed in MUN drove me so far.
Okay. What are your biggest responsibilities as president?
As the president of this council, actually the panel, my biggest responsibility is to make sure that the experts in the committee reach compromise, because in order for an amendment or a clause to pass in the advisory panel, there has to be a unanimous vote. So everyone, each single expert in the committee has to vote in favor. No abstentions, no votes against. So it's very hard to make sure that a compromise is reached, and I try to inform the delegates as experts as much as possible so that they are well aware of what is being discussed, and they are well aware of a clause not infringing their policy or not. So that is the biggest responsibility I have, to make sure that everyone is doing their task and making sure that the discussion, the debate, that intense debate in the committee is working out pretty productive in the end.
So you are discussing Kurdistan on the panel.
Yep.
What about this are you passionate about, or are you interested in?
Well, the interesting fact is that I'm a Turkish citizen, so I am deeply involved in this issue in my everyday life as well. So that is actually what drove me to the panel this year. I was a panelist, an expert last year as well, but this year's issue is just amazing for me. I've met a lot of Kurdish people in the east of Turkey. I've met a lot of Turks, and then Yazidis, Armenians, all sorts of ethnical groups mentioned in the committee, and feeling the problem they face each and every day, and the desperacy for and lack of solutions to this problem drove me to the panel. And as someone living in the cradle of civilization in Mesopotamia, I think that being involved neutrally in such an issue is just an amazing opportunity for me, because there are a lot of sides to this issue, a lot of opinions being shouted out, but what I am trying to manage, both in the committee and outside the committee, is to be neutral and to be as objective as possible on the issue.
So do you see yourself getting into things like this, or in the realm of politics as an adult?
Well, it was a hard time for me to admit to myself that I want to study politics and philosophy in college. First, I felt like I was more interested in engineering rather than social studies, but that was a result of kind of a peer pressure from my friends and even my teachers, who would expect me to become an engineer since I had been taking maths and physics courses for a long time. But later on, as I advanced in high school and as I advanced in MUN, I realized that I am actually very interested in politics, and I am very interested in how political ideologies form. So I think I will continue my college education and then post-educations in this field of studies, and this specific issue about the Kurds and about the refugee crisis and the conflict in the Middle East attracts my attention a lot. So I think I'll follow this path, but I'm still not sure. So You might find me working as a journalist in the future, like in like 5 years time, or you might see me doing more education on this issue. So yeah.
That's really interesting. What do you think is the biggest thing you've gotten out of MUN?
The biggest thing I got out of MUN, I think it's a friendship. I look at the people I see around me in the conference. It's my third time in The Hague, and it might be a conference that has like 4,000 people in it, but I see familiar faces all the time, and I meet people that I've hosted like 3 years ago in Turkey in a MUN conference, and I just see them randomly in the streets of The Hague, and it's a huge excitement for me. And all those amazing friendships I make, all those talks I have with them, those amazing experiences I share with them, they have shaped who I am right now, and they will be with me as I follow my MUN career and possibly a college career in this area in the future. And I'll just keep those memories in my head, and whenever I come back to The Hague or to the Netherlands, I'll just remember all these amazing things I had.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for people who are thinking about doing MUN or new people at MUN?
My advice would be to just, in terms of MUN, just make sure that you are as hardworking as possible so that you have something to say in the committee and you value debating. That's like the formal side. But the informal side is just make sure that you form amazing friendships in the conferences and you try to get the most out of the conference as possible. And what I mean by that is just meeting a lot of people. For example, meeting someone from Korea and from South Africa and having that discussion from people around the globe is something you won't be able to find when you're home. So I'd say my advice would be to just seize every moment and enjoy everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for your time.
Austere and forbidding as they rise from the plains of northern India,